Hey, everybody, welcome to Moment of Clarity. Hope you're doing well out there. Good to see y'all. Please take a second to share this, click subscribe, click thumbs up. I hope you like the new background. All right. I spent tens of dollars on this. Okay. I actually, it's hand sewn by child laborers in actually Britain. It's kind of a reverse child labor program. We try and make child laborers in Bangladesh or Vietnam, etc., feel good about themselves by exploiting children in the United Kingdom. So we've been doing that, and it's had really positive effects. The kids in the kids that are working very hard in Bangladesh and other countries, Indonesia, they've been big fans of it. Big fans. We have like a pen pal program so they can talk to each other. It's going great. Anyway, tens of dollars have been dumped into this incredible new high level Hollywood level background. So I hope you like it. I thought I'd just go through a little of Marco Rubio's Twitter because why not? He's such a brilliant, informative man that I just thought it'd be good to go through his Twitter and learn a little something, right? He's pocket sized, which is also really nice, right? Travel size. He's like he's that kind of like tiny adorable evil. Because often evil comes in large sizes, but like the little travel size evil is nice. Sometimes you like to have a little tiny pocket sized villain you can keep with you for whenever you need villainy. You're like, oh, I got it, and you just reach in your pocket, and there he is. He's cute. It's like if the Smurfs had an arch nemesis that was a Smurf. They had the big Gargamel, but if it was like a tiny evil Smurf, there was probably an episode about that, wasn't there? Some evil clone Smurf gets in there. Anyway, so let's just and speaking of someone who wholeheartedly supports the right-wing murderous government in Colombia, here's Marco Rubio. Okay, I'm not going to play his clips because I don't want to hear his face talk. But so first of all, his Twitter starts off with some quote from the Bible because it's always good to start off with a quote from an imaginary book of fairy tales that tells you about like people living inside whales and things like that. So he starts off with a quote from his favorite fairy tale book. And then he gets into the next tweet is the president of the United States has decided to allow American investors to continue to fund companies the Chinese military is using to build weapons designed to one day kill Americans and defeat us in war. Because Marco Rubio is trying to stop China. Okay, because China equals evil. Because I am dumb, and I think that a country is one thing. Everybody in it is one thing. So China equals evil, and so he's trying to stop Americans from being able to invest in Chinese weapons contractors. Which here's the thing, I actually agree with that as long as it's all weapons contractors. War profiteering should not be a thing. How about that for a start? But no, Marco Rubio's fine with our war profiteering. He's fine with funding our weapons contractors, our weapons that are used around the world. And by the way, our weapons are sold between countries all of the fucking time. So there are many countries that could one day be at war with the United States that have U.S. weapons. But Marco Rubio doesn't care about those. He only cares about, the ones that go to Chinese weapons, because those are the bad guy, evil weapons. Not to mention the fact that if we were to actually get into war with China, like a real war, then we would all kill ourselves with nuclear weapons. So there is that. There is the whole nuclear Armageddon thing. Marco Rubio has no problem with pushing us to the brink of that, right? Because he's willing to continually, push this belligerence, push this hatred of the great other, the great China that's going to get us and hurt us. And by the way, all of this agreed with by, although he's trying to yell at the president, right? He started that tweet as being like, the president, they agree on all this shit, right? the Democrats and Republicans agree on, making China the great new villain, pushing us towards nuclear war. They're totally fine with that. Totally. They every time they talk about China being an evil villain, they circle jerk together because they love that shit. It just makes them very happy and erect. It makes the women erect too, which is weird. So yeah, he's and also I love the fact that Mr. Capitalist. I mean, they're all Mr. and Mrs. Capitalist, right? All of our politicians fucking love capitalism. It makes them hard as well. But Mr. Capitalist here is upset that investors are investing in Chinese weapons companies. And it's like, dude, that's your economic system that you love, that you support and act like it's fine. It is the economic system where anybody can invest in killing others. Like, that's how this system works. But apparently you have a problem with it. Really, really, Marco Rubio. I thought you loved this shit. I thought you loved that there's people profiting off of fucking war and death and misery and starvation and hunger and fucking disease. And did I mention death? Because if you support capitalism, then that's what you're supporting. But right here in this tweet, he's saying, "Oh no, I don't like capitalism over there. I don't like it in this little particular area. I don't like capitalism when it funds the thing I don't like. I like when it invests in that thing, and I don't like it. But I like it for all the other things. But not over here. Not in this little thing. Don't do it over there." All right, let's see his next tweet, which I'm sure will be far more informed and ingenious and all that shit. "Once enough Hamas rockets have been destroyed, enough of their terrorist infrastructure has been eliminated, and their ability to claim a political victory has been denied, then I too will join the calls for a ceasefire now." He's saying he will join a call for ceasefire in Israel once those things have happened. Let me fix this tweet for him in a more accurate manner. Once enough children have been destroyed, enough of the children's infrastructure has been eliminated, and the children's ability to claim a political victory has been denied, then I too will join the calls for a ceasefire now. Because what is Israel bombing the shit out of? Mainly children. Children, innocent people. They're largely not hitting Hamas rockets, and not to mention, I believe, I'm actually gonna quote Joe Biden here. This is one of the things I agree with Joe Biden on. I'm just changing one word. He said Israel has the right to defend itself. I believe Palestine has the right to defend itself. So I'm agreeing with Joe Biden there. I'm just changing one word. I'm agreeing with most of it. Most of the sentence, 70% of that sentence, we are fist bumping. Yeah, man. I'm just changing one word. So I got the idea from him. I wouldn't even thought of that. I wouldn't even thought of that. Except he said Israel has the right to defend itself. Palestine has the right to defend itself. I'm just changing one word, and then I think he's totally right. He's totally right. But yeah, so and again, Hamas rockets. What have they? So Israel has killed over 200 people so far. I don't keep up with that. I don't have like a rolling tally, like car miles on my computer, but it's over 200. Almost entirely innocent people, and almost entirely, not almost entirely, but God knows how many women and children. I mean, a lot, dozens and dozens and dozens. And they blew up a press office, right, that housed Al Jazeera and the AP, the Associated Press. And they knew it housed, they knew they were bombing a press building. They knew they blew up a 12-story press building because they called those offices to tell them beforehand, you have a few minutes to get out. So get out of the building immediately, and then we're going to blow it up. So they knew they were committing a war crime. They knew ahead of time, and they called and said, "Hey, we're getting ready to commit a war crime. You guys might want to get the fuck out of there. Yeah. No, grab your shit." No, I wouldn't pack a bag. You don't have time for that. I just grab all your shit and get out. Because, yeah, we're going to commit a war crime. We're just feeling it. We're just feeling it. We had a couple of margaritas. We're just feeling it. We had a bottle of Manischewitz, just feeling like committing some war crimes. So, yeah, you guys should get the fuck out of there. Because it's going to get ugly soon. Even though I know, no, I listen. I know you're with the AP. I know you guys do our propaganda work most of the time. I mean, I've read it. You guys do a great job on all that propaganda work most of the time. Most of the time. But the thing is, you're in Gaza, and so you're showing footage of like where our rockets are landing. Sometimes, and we don't want people to know that. And so we're gonna, and also Al Jazeera is there, so we're gonna bomb the whole building. Yeah, no, I know you've done a lot of propaganda for us. I get it. We're still gonna blow the fuck out of your building. So yeah, you should hurry up and get out of there. And no, I'm not calling on a phone from the 1990s. Oh, why is my pinky out? Oh, you're right. There you go. So yeah, they knew they were committing a war crime, and they did it anyway. And this is who Marco Rubio is supporting. This is obviously who also most of the Democrats are supporting. Very few of the Democrats have even called for a ceasefire. Some of them have. And Joe Biden and the U.S. have blocked the call by the UN for several days on calling for a ceasefire, and they were the only ones blocking it, the only country blocking it. So yeah, so Marco Rubio's agreeing with, right? All these people all fucking agree on almost all of it. There were a few Democrats that said we need to stop the next shipment of weapons to Israel, but even they have kind of backed off. They were like, "Hey, stop those shipments." Oh, okay, I said what I could. I don't know what else I can do. I tweeted it. That's it. I tweeted it. There's nothing more I can do after that. So then Marco Rubio continues with his terrorist Hamas. Terrorist Hamas uses civilians as human shields. So this is now he's in that tweet, he's supporting this hilariously fake talking point propaganda that all of us, anybody who's like fucking read 3 articles knows is bullshit. The whole human shields thing. You have people living in an open air prison. They can't leave. They can't get out. They can't get away. There are very few, if any, bomb shelters. The city looks like rubble, like all of the time, even before these latest bombs hit, because guess what? They don't have the building supplies to repair after the last reign of terror from Israel. So the whole human shields thing is horseshit. This is a relatively tiny area that Israel bombing the fuck out of, and people can't get away. And so Israel just bombs the fuck out of them, kills innocent civilians, doesn't give a shit. On top of that, if this were true, if this idea of the human shields from Hamas were true, then explain the Great March of Return, right? You can't. The Great March of Return happened over, it was over many months. It was thousands of Palestinians going up to the border, and Israeli snipers, IDF snipers, shooting and killing many, dozens, hundreds were shot and killed, and many were hit in ways that didn't kill them, but were seriously maimed, seriously injured. And many of these were children. They were old women. They were people that were clearly infirmed in wheelchairs. Everyone was clearly unarmed. The worst level of weapon they saw was a fucking rock and a slingshot. Yeah. Shoot that kid because he's got a slingshot with a pebble in it. Fucking kill that 8-year-old because he's got a slingshot. Yeah, and also shoot that one over there. He's got a yo-yo. That one's holding a yo-yo. There's another. 2 of them over there playing paddle ball. Shoot them too. You don't know what they might do with that paddle ball. You never know. You never know. Yeah, that one's got a boomerang. Kill him. I mean, it's so flyingly fucked. So the point is that they're intentionally killing these people in the Great March of Return. What makes you think it's any different now? Why would you ever believe this human shield garbage argument? But Marco Rubio is he's a right-wing dumpster fire of a human being, but most of the things I'm saying are also agreed with by almost the entirety of the Republicans, most of the Democrats. So this is not just him, right? This is one of these issues that show you that the two parties are not two parties, right? They are one party. When it comes to Israel and so many other topics that I don't need to reel them all off right now, But when it comes to massive foreign policy or almost all foreign policy, the two parties are one party. And so Marco Rubio is doing an excellent job in his little Twitter feed. By the way, I'm not covering his Twitter feed because it was spectacular today, because it was important today, because I was just like, let's grab a random Twitter feed and let's go through it and see just how much sewage, like rancid, lumpy, like congealed sewage with the flies that are coming to the sewage just like die from the stink, and you just see them, they're excited at first, and you see them just spiral down into it because they can't. They're like, holy, this is, it's like sewage that has gone bad. That's Marco Rubio's Twitter feed. It's sewage beyond its expiration date, so that the flies just die midair and face plant into the sewage. That's his Twitter feed, and so I figured let's just go through that. More pro-Hamas garbage. More pro-Israel garbage. Part of this is to just continually call Hamas terrorist, right? But the more accurate definition would be the Israeli Defense Force is terrorist, right? Terrorist IDF. That would be more accurate because they are quite literal. I mean, they committed a war crime of bombing, obliterating the media in Gaza, and they did it on like fucking television. Like, you can go watch it. You can go watch it right now and go, wow, that's a fucking war crime. And they know, so they are a terrorist organization, the IDF. And yet Marco Rubio wants to continue putting out. I mean, he gets, and how much money does he get from either Israel or Israel supporters? These very high level bankers, lobbyists, hedge fund managers, or whatever that say, hey, here's the thousands of dollars we'll give you for your campaign, or we'll give to your super PAC, $1 million we'll give to your super PAC. And in exchange, you get to say Israel propaganda. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm just a little villainy guy. I don't give a shit. Okay, awesome. You can carry me around in your pocket in case you need a villain on the fly. He says, blame terrorist Hamas for the death and suffering of civilians. They use civilian buildings as launch sites for rocket attacks on Israel. Besides the fact this is just a lie, he acts as if Hamas has some kind of like large, like Pentagon where they should be launching the rockets from. Like, what does he think they fucking have? He thinks they have like aircraft carriers or some shit. Like, they're not allowed to have and don't have helicopters, jets, ships, fucking MRAPs, tanks. They don't have any of that shit. So what is it you think they are? You think they've got some sort of military bases? You fucking idiot. All right. Well, that was from his press secretary or something. Almost 2 years ago, I called for targeted 21st century industrial policy to counter China. That means economic war against China. And I outlined the way forward again yesterday. He's like priding himself on how well he did it because he did it 2 years ago. Hey, 2 years ago, I was creating propaganda against China, and I'm still doing it now. Look at me, Mom. Two years ago, I was full of shit, and I'm still full of shit today. Awesome. Here's a video of me being full of shit 2 years after I started being full of shit. I mean, it's more than 2 years. He's been full of shit forever, but Apple lectures Americans, but does the bidding of Beijing because they want access to Chinese customers and slave labor. Woke hypocrisy at its worst. Speaking of hypocrisy, this motherfucker supports slave labor all over the place. He supports slave labor in our prisons in the United States. He supports slave labor. Like, where the fuck are his clothes? I mean, he fucking loves slave labor, but no, he's upset with the slave labor in China, which, by the way, I haven't seen any proof that there's any slave labor in China. Now, what there is people working for fucking pennies. Hence the Foxconn factories that Apple used to source their iPhones from, that had the suicide nets around them. That wasn't because the people were slaves. That was because the people were fucking desperate for a few pennies to survive. So guess what that's called? That's not called slavery. That's called economic force. People doing things they don't want to do because of economic force. And guess what, Marco Rubio? That kind of shit goes on in the United States too. Like all of the time. Like all of the time. People doing stuff they don't want to do because of economic force. But right-wingers especially, although I guess it's true for liberals too, and libertarians, they love to act like economic force isn't a thing, right? If you just let everything go wild, if there were no regulations, then everybody be free. Yeah, you'd be free except for economic force. You'd be free to desperately take jobs that you didn't want in order to survive, which many people are doing now. But by saying, let's get rid of all regulation, what little regulation there is, what little remaining regulation there is in the workplace is the tiny things that help workers, these tiny remainder of things that help workers to, not be able to be easily sexually harassed if it comes out, if they're able to reveal it, or now there's obviously people violating all these regulations in various ways, but at least there's a way that it at times can be stopped. But anyway, I'm getting way off the tracks here, but little Marco Rubio wants to say that he's very upset with Apple because Apple uses slave labor in China. Now, the truth is there are tons of companies doing business in China, and in a perfect world, we wouldn't have Wall Street, we wouldn't have the business community because we wouldn't have capitalism destroying our world. But in a less perfect world where we were still here in capitalism, but we had gotten rid of toxic nationalism, then you could have people doing business wherever the fuck they want, because we should all be cooperating globally to make for a better future instead of trying to crush and kill other countries because they were born at a different little location on the soil of the earth. Oh, you were born slightly over there because, and it really, there's a lot of racism wrapped up in this as well. It's right. It's hatred of Asian people, and that's why it's a lot easier and a lot more common for the United States to make non-white countries their enemies. Right now, Russia is an exception to some degree, but they're far quicker to bomb, to invade, to put economic war on countries that are not white, right? You go after Latin America, you go after the Middle East, you go after Asia, North Korea. So there's a lot of racism wrapped up in it as well, as we see with the Israel issue, right? You've got the white people versus the non-white people, and guess what? Marco Rubio sides with all of the white people. Anyway, let's see if we got one more or two. Oh, God, dude, he's doing more fucking Bible quotes. The idea that you act like, blessed be the Lord day by day, God our salvation who carries us. Dude, if there were a God, do you think he'd give a flying shit about, do you think he'd like you? You are like, what kind of fucking Lord would be like, hey, that little tiny rich, racist dude I'm really into him. I mean, what a good guy. He's just a great guy to be around. No, the little one, that guy, the little one. Oh, he's just what a great dude. He's just, he's spending his time tweeting to his whatever million followers about how Israel should kill more children. I mean, what a good guy. God, I'm so glad I made that little guy. So glad I did. Yeah, dude, the Lord would be real into you if there were a Lord. Anyway, Israel is facing an over. God, he doesn't even know how to speak. Israel is facing an over 3,100 rocket barrage. Israel is facing whatever, a barrage of over 3,100 rockets. Me no likey words. Come on, Marco, get it together. Right now, they need our support, not doubts over the U.S. commitment to their ability to defend themselves. There, yet again, I agree. Just change the word to Palestinians, and I agree with everything you just said. They deserve our support in defending themselves against one of the most powerful militaries in the world. I totally agree. Let's see. That was more God stuff. Yeah, 3,100 rockets that killed 5 people as compared to the well over 200 that Israel or the IDF has killed so far. And he's concerned about the 5. He's worried about the 5. It's, I mean, yeah. What more is there to say? What a sad fucking human being. But again, most of what I went through, the Democrats agree with. There's a few of them saying otherwise, but many of those are not really standing up against it. And they're just going to keep standing up for the oppressing force, supporting the oppressing force in Israel, supporting the Goliath against David. I mean, yeah, it's real tough to support Goliath against David. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. For those of you who donated, all the money is going to those in need. If you're not watching this live, you can also donate on Venmo at Lee Camp. And yeah, we'll talk more about that on the live stream Sunday night. Please check out my 2 podcasts, Government Secrets and Common Censored. Also, there's a new Redacted Tonight every Friday. You can get that at portable.tv. I have a new website at leecamp.com. You can check that out. And I do these almost every single weekday, except sometimes. Keep fighting, everybody.